Hello, it's Emily. Welcome back to my channel, and today I will be showing you the almost 30 books I have hauled into my library recently, which are featured behind me. So let's hop right on in and get to showing some books. I hauled in The Immortality Thief by Taryn Hunt. This is actually the Goldsboro limited edition, and it's absolutely stunning. I love the sprayed edges here, and I believe this is number 140 of only 2,000 copies, and it's signed. So it's a gem to have and be able to get my hands on it, so I'm super excited for this. And this is a sci-fi that is set on a abandoned spaceship. So it sounded really intriguing, and it's been on my TBR since it's come across my radar when it first came out, and I'm glad that I landed a copy of it. I got The Kingdom of Liars by Nick Martell and The Two-Faced Queen. These are book 1 and 2 of a new fantasy series, and I think it's gonna have 3 books in total, and the 3rd book is set to release this fall, I believe. But it sounded very interesting. It's set upon the premise where people that can use what's called fabrications use it, but there's a cost, and most often that cost is losing memories. So it sounded really intriguing, and I think it's political fantasy, so there's gonna be a lot of politics involved too, so can't wait to dive into this new series. I got Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. This is one that's been sitting on my TBR for quite some time, and then I found it next to nothing on book outlets, so of course I had to swipe a copy, and I can't wait to read this because it sounds very intriguing. The cover is actually gorgeous, and I'm super excited to have this now. Another book I bought was A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher, and this one, it just sounded really intriguing because it's dealing with wizardry and sourdough starter. So I really wanted to check it out because I do actually deal with sourdough myself and have some starter. So I'm sure this is gonna be really interesting. Another book I got was Drive Your Plows Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Talkers, which I definitely butchered that last name, so we'll just say Olga T. And this one, thought the title sounded interesting, and I wanted to try another one of their works because I did read the Books of Jacob that was published by them. However, it wasn't quite my cup of tea because it was historical fiction, but I still wanted to give them another chance, so I wanted to try this one, and hopefully I enjoy it. Another book I got was Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, and this is one I found for a steal on Book Outlet, and I've been wanting it for a while, but I just wasn't ready to buy it yet. And when it was next to nothing, of course I decided to swipe a copy. And this, I believe, is a continuation of her Caraval series following a new set of characters. So it sounds like it's gonna be very intriguing because I think the Prince of Hearts is gonna be the main love interest here. So I can't wait to continue on in this world because I read Caraval a few years ago and absolutely loved that trilogy. So I'm super excited. I snagged a copy of my Pathetic Vampire Life Volume 1 secondhand, and this is just a manga. I think there's only 2 released, but it just sounded kind of like a fun, happy-go-lucky story about a vampire that keeps having to repeat freshman year of high school. So sounds intriguing and can't wait to check it out. All of Us Villains and All of Our Demise, because they were next to nothing on Book Outlet. And I've been wanting to check out the series for a while, and I figured might as well check it out now. And I believe this is kind of like a Hunger Games meets magic and villains. So sounds very intriguing. So can't wait to check it out. Another steal I found on Book Outlet, and one that's been on my TBR for a bit, is Vampires, Hearts, and Other Dead Things. And this, I believe it's a young adult paranormal where a girl ends up striking a deal with a vampire to try to save her dad. Sounded really intriguing. The cover's really gorgeous, and I can't wait to dive into it. I ended up getting Ella Minnow Key secondhand, and this, I believe it's a book written through letters where these people living on an island are slowly losing the right to use certain letters, so they have to get creative in their writing and stuff. So it sounds very intriguing, and I can't wait to read it and just to try to decipher what I'm going to read as the novel progresses. Of course, I'm a very big chemistry nerd since I did study that in my undergrad. And this book, A Taste for Poison, 11 Deadly Molecules and the Killers Who Use Them, has been sitting on my TBR for quite some while. So of course, when I found it next to nothing on Book Outlet, I had to snag a copy. And basically this just is a nonfiction, which the title explains itself. I grabbed Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. And this one, I was kind of intrigued because I've seen it being hyped up all over the internet. So I wanted to check it out, especially because it's part of the James Patterson Presents series. And I adored James Patterson as an author when I was younger and read all of his works as a child that were geared towards the young adult genre. And so I'm kind of intrigued to check this one out and hope I enjoy it. I finally caved and got The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. This is one, it's been on my radar for probably over a decade, and I just never really felt the urge to pick it up and buy it, but I figured, you know what, might as well. And this is set during the Holocaust, and I believe Death is the main narrator in this. So we're seeing everything through his eyes. Ended up getting this one secondhand, and it's absolutely stunning, and that is A Taste of Gold and Iron by Alexandra Rowland. And it was sitting in my TBR, and then I saw that the Bookish, I think it's from the Bookish box, yes, the Bookish box Lux exclusive edition. I was able to find it and snagged a copy. I love the sprayed edges here, and like the inside spine like cover is just gorgeous. And basically the quotation on the back says, "Use as much of your power as you like. You will not move me from your side." So sounds very intriguing, and I'm sure there's gonna be some steamy romance here. Another Book Outlet find was This Vicious Grace by Emily Thede, and I think this is young adult. And what sold me was the blurb, 3 weddings, 3 funerals. So sounds very intriguing. I think there's some fantasy and magic involved, so can't wait to see what happens in this one. My fairy loot for the month of June came in, and this month's book is Shanghai Immortal by A.Y. Chow, and the sprayed edges on this is absolutely stunning, and then as well as the end pages themselves. And I think this is a book set in historical China, dealing with demons and a half vampire, half fox spirit main character. So sounds intriguing. I hope I'm able to enjoy it and can't wait to dive into this. I'm picking up Lake's Edge and Forest Fall by Lyndall Clipstone off of Book Outlet Next to Nothing. And this is a paranormal or light low fantasy. The covers looked interesting, so of course I wanted to pick it up and can't wait to read them. Another Book Outlet find was Seventh Son and Red Prophet by Orson Scott Card. This is 2 books in one, consisting of the first 2 volumes of the Tales of Alvin Maker. So I really do enjoy Orson Scott Card's works. I read Ender's Game about 2 years ago. I still need to finish the rest of that series, but if they're on my TBR, so I wanted to check out this one too and hope I do enjoy it. I also picked up Magician Apprentice by Raymond E. Feist. This is another steal I found on Book Outlet, and I've been wanting to check this one out for quite a while because I know it's pretty much a classic fantasy. So I hope I'm able to enjoy this, since it is an older fantasy and sometimes the older ones are a little bit of a miss for me. So hopefully this one has strong enough characters and doesn't end up treating women like side pieces who faint all the time, which is a trend I see in a lot of the older fantasies. So I hope I do enjoy this one. Another book I found for next to nothing was The One by John Mars. And this one sounded interesting because it is set in a world where a simple DNA test can find your perfect match. So we're following several different people who have conducted that DNA test. And I think there's like a dark twist at the end, but I hope I enjoy it. It sounded intriguing and I can't wait to read it. Another book I found, which I ended up getting this one secondhand, and that is The Waking Engine by David Edison, I believe. Sorry, the title's kind of cut off. And this is I don't know, we can say paranormal, dystopian, not quite sure what to classify it as, but basically it's set in a world where after those people die, they kind of wake up in this weird in-between place, and I believe that in-between is failing or something like that. It's kind of what I'm getting at just from reading the synopsis, but it sounded very intriguing, and I'm kind of interested to see if the world setup is strong in this one, and can't wait to check it out. I ended up finding This Fairy Loot secondhand, and that is Silver in the Bone by Alexander Brocken. I read lore, was it maybe earlier this year or the end of last year, and really enjoyed it. So I was excited to try something else out by this author, and when I found this edition, which has absolutely stunning sprayed edges, of course I had to buy it, and the inside is awesome too. And I believe this is set in a modernized version, heavily based on the Arthurian legend. So sounds intriguing and can't wait to check it out. Another book outlet find was 8,000 Steps into Night by Tracy Chi. And I believe this is set in a world where gods, monsters, and humans exist side by side, and this girl ends up being cursed and is slowly turning into a demon, and she sets out on a journey to try to stop that transformation, is what I'm getting from the synopsis. It sounds very intriguing, and I hope I'm able to enjoy it. I ended up getting Heart of the Sun Warrior by Sue Lynn Tan. This is another one that I found on book outlet Next to Nothing. And I figured, since I already own the first book, and hopefully we'll get around to reading it sometime this year. It's actually part of my wrapped books. I just haven't unwrapped it yet. So I figured might as well go ahead and just have the second book on hand while it was a steal online. So eventually I will get that first book read and hopefully enjoy it enough to pick up this one. The final book I hauled in was Over My Dead Body by Sweeney Boo, and I think this is a graphic novel set in a school, and I think there's witches and stuff. But it sounded very intriguing. The cover was interesting, and so I hope I do enjoy it. And I think this will be the perfect read maybe this fall when it's cool and spooky season, so can't wait. Well, I guess that's it for today's video. I have hauled in quite a few books, probably more than I should have, but summertime usually has the best deals for books. So I try to get a bunch in the summertime when they're marked down next to nothing. And I'm probably not going to buy much books anymore until probably November. That's usually the next time a lot of books end up being marked down again because they're putting them on sale for Christmas and stuff. So until then, this might be my last massive haul for quite some time. And if you did enjoy this video, feel free to click the like and subscribe button down below. And if there's any books I hauled in that you've read and enjoyed, feel free to share your thoughts to encourage me to pick them up faster. But I guess that's it, and I will see you guys next time.